Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel if you are new here, and welcome back if you have been following me for a while. In today's video, I will be discussing the long anticipated and requested Lilith, how to love someone with Lilith in the 7th house. At a fundamental level, loving someone is a complex and unique experience. There is no right or wrong path or formula to love your specific person. A person with Lilith in the 7th house is fundamentally here to experience, learn, and grow through relationship karma, specifically romantic and business partnerships, less likely for friendships, but that doesn't mean friendships are not affected. Basically, someone with this placement already has a very difficult time trusting people. So if you meet your Lilith and 7th house partner, y'all have this instant, strong connection, and it's very seamless. Be wary of this fact, because even though they might initially seemingly trust you, that is like something that has to be earned. And it's not about you, it's more so about the trauma that they've endured throughout their life, and now it's a lot to unpack. Also important to be careful with this intensity, because although they might love and care for you, people with this placement can only love you to the magnitude that they have loved themselves. And as I'm going to explain in this video, people with Lilith in the 7th house, since they deal with relationship karma, it's a lot of undoing that they're doing in this life. So a lot of that has to do with running from and not facing the truth of their trauma and their problems, and having someone challenge them enough to bring it to the surface. So although the connection may start strong, the deeper the bond, the scarier it will be for your partner. And I know that love is scary for everyone, but for people with Lilith in the 7th house, it's like, it's a mess, okay? Like, as a person with Lilith in the 7th house, I'm telling you right now, like, it is not as simple as it seems. The fear sometimes outweighs the love that is present. And that's because relationships bring up the harshest, scariest, darkest part of ourselves. And a lot of times we don't want to face that. We want to stay in the light, even though we need the balance of both. That doesn't mean that it's easy to do so in this life. Okay, no. Since relationships bring up the harshest, scariest, darkest traumas from this life and past lives, the slightest inconvenience, I mean like the first sign of doubt that is planted in a Lilith the 7th house person's mind can sprout very quickly. Like, I don't know if y'all see Intergalactic with the worry plant and how quickly it grew. Like, that's how quick the seed grows. It's like you just make one comment that just tells us that you're not in it for real, and we're just gonna take it and run with it. Everything you do after that is gonna be like, oh, well, they said this, so how am I supposed to believe any actions? Even though actions are supposed to speak louder than words, that's not always the case with us. Like, it's just not. If your person has healthier placements that counteract this energy, there's a possibility that this might not weigh as heavily, and they possibly have healthy, loving relationships with people. But from the research that I've done and a life that I've lived, I've seen that it's like a 1% chance of a Lilith and 7th house person actually being healthy when it comes to being traumatized or triggered through trauma in any way. But that doesn't mean that you can't love them properly. I'm just trying to give you like the footwork to know like what you're getting into, because it's not as simple as it seems. And that's because that energy like lives inside of your person, and the only person that can uproot it is them. So that's just something to be mindful of if you're in love with someone with Lilith in the 7th house. So first and foremost, I want you to be aware that you are in your lover's life to shape them and point them in a specific direction, just like with anyone. But like with Lilith in the 7th house people, they tend to attract mirrors, especially of their darkness, the darkest parts of themselves that they don't want to face, especially if they're on a journey of self-discovery or self-happiness, they tend to attract partners that will trigger them, and it's not even like they're trying to hurt themselves, they're actually trying to heal themselves. But since this placement is a placement of becoming undone throughout the entirety of their life, just because someone is coming undone doesn't mean it's a beautiful, eloquent process. It's usually like it's actually the opposite. It's kind of like a disaster, and they might end up looking like the crazy person in the situation because of how, I don't even know the word, like it's just like, it's like a reeling feeling, like your entire, like from the inside out, it's like this pulling, urging, strenuous feeling of like I need to get out, but it's all in. Which usually attributes to their anger and sadness and depression, or protest behaviors that they might do in the course of the relationship. Okay, so to put it simply, people with this placement, when they cannot and will not, basically when they refuse to take in things that are good for them and absorb them, it causes them to become undone. It causes them to unravel and spiral, and that can look like anger, fury, and most importantly, disappointment for you. But ultimately, we are disappointing ourselves, because it's just like it's a knee-jerk reaction, and it's something that has to be tempered and learned and maintained, and that's why we're here doing the work together. A person with Lilith in the 7th house is basically here to get to know who they are truly, without all of the past life trauma that's attributed to them. So a lot of the things that they're unlearning is things that they inherited, and it's not a reflection of who they really are, but it is a reflection of what's inside of them. So in a lot of ways, they unintentionally cause pain to themselves and others in the process. To emphasize that I would like to emphasize that Lilith covers our subconscious fears and desires in this life. Well, subconscious fears and motivations of a person. But this aspect should not be the only thing you look for when you're trying to figure out how best to love your partner, or how compatible you are with someone. I honestly would suggest looking into composite charts, because a composite chart is basically a marrying of two charts. So it's like your chart, your partner chart, and it marries the charts and shows you how you are together in this life. So that means it's like y'all charts have a baby. So that chart has its own sun sign, it has its own Lilith sign, it has its own Mercury, Venus, whatever. It shows how your energies work together and what works best. So if you really, really, really want to know how best to love your partner, or even if like this is a healthy union or unhealthy union, I would advise you to look at a composite chart, and you can do that on any website like Astro-Seek.com/compatibility, or Astro-Charts. They have multiple charts, or Cafe-Astrology, whatever website you prefer. Actually, I'll put them in the bio. You'll go on those websites, pull up the composite chart, and then like you'll really see how the energies work. And I'll just say this brief mention of like Lilith in the 7th house for composite charts typically means that the couple met through an affair or some kind of sketchy situation. Like it started out very sexual and then it ended up, like romantic, but it's very telling of the energy. I feel like it's very accurate, especially I've done composite of every past person I've been with, and even down to like the rising sign tells you how you met the person. accurate. The Lilith sign tells you how the sexual energy is with the person, accurate. The sun sign tells you how you present to the world, accurate. So I would advise that as the best way, mode, form of getting to know how you work best with your partner. But since this video is about how to love someone with Lilith in the 7th house, I will finish. But I just want you to know that. And I will be doing videos about Lilith, well, composite Liliths. So now that we know all of these dirty details about your partner, how do you love them? Well, my suggestion is to challenge them. I feel like that's the greatest way you can love your Lilith and 7th house partner, but there's a difference between challenge and just being confrontational and aggressive. I think that needs to be said, because the moment that we feel judged or criticized and it's not constructive, all of the anger, fury is gonna come out. Like, it has to be like, okay, challenging you, I want the best for you, this is what I see, like, how can we improve, and opposed to like, you have a problem with this. Like, it's, yeah, so ultimately, and this is like different stages in a relationship, because in the beginning they'll probably like be grand, but of course, like after the honeymoon phase and then people's flaws start to show, like, that'll be the times where you you definitely want to set boundaries, you definitely want to be assertive in your needs and desires, but again, not condescending or aggressive about it, because it's good to make them uncomfortable, but make them uncomfortable enough that they can still be comfortable enough to grow, not uncomfortable enough that they want to like revert back into their shell and not share anymore. There's also a possibility that they might resent you for it. It depends on how hard of a pusher you are, but that's because people with this placement tend to try to run away from that part of themselves. I know that if you're watching this video, or like if you are cross-watching and you're a Lilith and 7th house person, you are trying to work on this, and you can agree that like you've done this to people before, but that's because of not trying to face that part of yourselves and come out of the darkness into illumination, even though seemingly like people with displacement are so light and peaceful and elegant. That's because it's ruled by Libra. So like, of course it's gonna present that way, but like even the dark side of anything is, y'all know what I mean. So yeah, so like, people with displacement are constantly in battle of the two extremes of being in a dark and a light, and they definitely prefer to be in a light, like just straight up. But they can't fully become who they are in this life until they fully embrace the darkness of themselves, which is why they keep attracting partners who help them face the darkness of themselves. Sometimes it's a healthy union and sometimes it's extremely unhealthy, but either way, the result is the same. So it's very easy for people with displacement to absorb their partner's energy and reality at times. And again, that's the avoidant nature of not trying to face their own darkness. And also just the Libra nature of wanting to have that balance and harmony. So it's kind of like they will absorb their partner's reality. And I also associate this to honestly having an anxious attachment style. I can't confirm that all Lilith and 7th house people have anxious attachment styles, but I will recommend that you guys get this free audiobook that's on Amazon called Attached, that breaks down all of the attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, and secure. And it has a free it has a free quiz on there to see what your attachment style is. And I think that it is so imperative for you to know, because I honestly don't think a lot of people with displacement have secure attachment styles, and that's where the problem arises. A lot of the parallels that I see between Lilith and 7th houses, protest behaviors or reactionary behaviors are examples of either anxious or avoidant. And I think that if you are aware of your partner's attachment style and even your own, that will be a better pathway to being able to love them better, because then you'll know how to properly reassure them in a relationship. So it's very easy for people with displacement to absorb their partner's energy and reality at times. And again, that's the avoidant nature of not trying to face their own darkness. And also just the Libra nature of wanting to have that balance and harmony. So it's kind of like they will absorb their partner's reality. And I also associate this to honestly having an anxious attachment style. I can't confirm that all Lilith and 7th house people have anxious attachment styles, but I will recommend that you guys get this free audiobook that's on Amazon called Attached, that breaks down all of the attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, and secure. And it has a free it has a free quiz on there to see what your attachment style is. And I think that it is so imperative for you to know, because I honestly don't think a lot of people with displacement have secure attachment styles, and that's where the problem arises. A lot of the parallels that I see between Lilith and 7th house is protest behaviors or reactionary behaviors are examples of either anxious or avoidant. And I think that if you are aware of your partner's attachment style and even your own, that will be a better pathway to being able to love them better, because then you'll know how to properly reassure them in a relationship, outside of everything else. Like, it just how to create like true security in a relationship. So yes, I'm going to leave the link to that also. And this is not, none of this is like sponsored. Like, this is just information that I use for myself, and I want you to use it for yourself, because I want us to heal and grow and evolve as people. So yeah. So in summary, the best way to love your Lilith and 7th house partner is to put them in positions where they have to confront themselves and be a bit uncomfortable. But those positions are the perfect opportunities for them to love and show up for themselves in ways that they've never done before, and they wouldn't be able to without your presence. Support, commitment, and understanding go a very long way. So it is much appreciated. And if you do love someone with displacement, like, they appreciate it. I am telling you right now that it will be hard, but not impossible. I think the information with the attachment styles might lighten the load, because then you'll see how, if y'all are truly compatible in that aspect, because that's also important outside of astrology. Because that's something else that starts in your childhood. I said before, the protest behaviors, they might fight, they might scream, and they might disappoint you if they're not ready to face themselves and take that challenge and to change just yet. Unfortunately, a lot of people with displacement leave a trail of broken hearts behind them, but on the other end of the spectrum, like, a lot of people with displacement end up alone, or just like they give up on relationships from the research that I've seen, because of how chaotic and toxic their relationships have been. And I think that's because of the fear of doing the inner work, and also the attachment style that they're unwittingly knowing that they have. So all of that plays a big part, I think. And I want all of us to have like good, healthy, unconditional, secure love. So let's like work through that. I don't want us to have a bad rep of just being a Lilith placement that can't find true love because we're just so traumatized. Like, that's not it. That's not the dynamic I want for us. So yeah, in summary, I think I summarized everything. So this piece is specifically for a Lilith and Seven Houser, not the lover, but you. Okay? So whenever you lash out, you are unbearable to be around. So temper your emotions, or find a safe space. Wait until you are in a peaceful space until you speak to people again, because that's things that you can't take back. And I'm telling you from experience, like, walk away. Like, it's better to walk away than to like say some shit you can't take back. And also, stop being so quick to push the person that you love away because you think they're not going to love the parts of you that you haven't accepted. Like, that is a personal matter. You're not giving people a chance to fully love or get to know you because you're not allowing yourself to love and get to know yourself. So that is it for this video. I really hope it was helpful and informative and gave you some clarity. Like I said before, I'll be posting the different websites you can do composite charts on in this bio, and also the link to the audiobook for Attached, which is free if you have Amazon Prime, so why not? So yeah, and as always, be good to yourself and take care of yourself, and I will be doing composite videos next, so see you soon.